had someone vanish after 3 amazing dates or text you just enough to keep you hooked, but never follow through? Well, you're not crazy and you're not alone. We're going to talk about ghosting, breadcrumbing, and zombieing.
And so ghosting is when you suddenly just cut off. Breadcrumbing is sporadic, flirty, affection. It's just enough to keep someone interested, but without real intentions to commit or to deepen the relationship. So zombieing is when someone who previously ghosted you suddenly reappears, and then and with no apology, no explanation. So yes, that's what we're talking about, and these are some of the things that make dating so scary today.
And so this young lady, for just no apparent reason, no particular reason, Forrest Gump voice, just started sitting next to me every day on the ride home. And it went on for days and days and days. And finally, as we began to develop some of a relationship, I asked her out. After, let's say, 2 weeks of sitting next to me every day on the ride home, it was like our thing. The very next day, I saw her walking down the aisle. I slid over like I always did. She didn't say anything. She didn't sit in the seat that she'd been sitting in. She didn't look at me. She didn't acknowledge me. And that's the day before that was the last conversation I've ever had with that person. And how I think me, going forward, our audience can learn to respond when you've been ghosted, breadcrumbed, or zombied.
So the ghoster may fear confrontation. They may fear being overwhelmed, or they may lack emotional maturity. Well, pull yourself together and do the right thing. They have feelings and they have desires, and they want to be treated in a nice way. So when a person is ghosted, that could trigger all kinds of things in them. It could trigger a lack of confidence in themselves. What is it about me that they don't want me? And that hurts me so bad, because I'm thinking, check yourself. I think self-reflection is great.
Okay, so before your next relationship, I'm going to give you 3 steps. Number 1, bathe the relationship that you hope to have in prayer. Lord, send me, again, our whole point is we're dating for the purpose of getting married, not for recreational fun. Okay, number 2, I'm praying that I will be more like Christ in how I act and respond to things. And then, of course, the third thing is, and this is important, I'm going to be careful to not have my mind made up about the prayer that God's going to answer. Based on those principles, those prerequisites that we put in place, now when we're ghosted, and I get it hurts. When that young lady stopped sitting beside me on the bus, my initial reaction, because it's emotional, right? So I'm bathing my relationship or potential or future relationships in prayer. So now everything that happens, hey, rejection is God's protection. The right thing is, when this behavior appears, be thankful that it appeared before it was too late. Lord, send me the person you have for me. And when a person that you thought was for you leaves or disappears, don't start making excuses.
Usually I try to work on helping them be aware of the emotional manipulation, the inconsistency, and seeing that those things are not okay. I want you to be able to name those things. I see consistency, I see clarity, and I'm committed. I want you to be able to say those things and say, this is where we're going. And then you might want to look back and say, why did you accept those breadcrumbs?
So if this has happened to you and it feels like you've been left with no closure, here's my professional advice to you. In the absence of you providing closure, I'm going to close it myself. But in the context of this conversation, what we're talking about, in the absence of a closure or a closing final word, fill in the word yourself and so you walked out and left the door open. Walk over there, close the door yourself.
Not because they tell us the truth about our worth, but because they leave us with unanswered questions, unresolved emotions and the weight of a story we make up in the silence. So the first thing is that we set boundaries. Setting clear boundaries is the emotional safeguard. Let's just
Give me an
say
example.
I don't stay in a situationship past 4 to 6 weeks without some type of clarity. I would say no more than 4 weeks.
Within 4 weeks, y'all have, at the longest, you need to have met in person.
I said mute, block, or unfollow the person who caused this emotional distress in your life. So it tells your nervous system, I'm safe, with responsive, intentional choices. So it's almost like you're telling yourself something, or by setting boundaries, you're protecting that part of you. So do the emotional detox, the narrative rewrite in your mind, for instance. So after ghosting, breadcrumbing, your brain starts trying to make sense of the silence. And some people, this particular person that I was working with, they journal those and they look at them, and I tell them to journal that feeling, write it out. And then I want you to look at it tomorrow. It's writing it out, naming that emotion, expressing yourself, all of that. And then I tell them to rewrite it and show compassion to themselves. We're trying to rewrite the narrative.
What we'd like you to do is share your own ghosting, breadcrumbing, zombieing stories. We'll see you next week.